Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to pull out the key nuggets of knowledge on fascinating topics, just to get you well informed. Today, we're diving into an artist. I mean, her global presence is just monumental, unparalleled impact on music, on culture. Beyonce, she's absolutely everywhere, right? Influencing fashion, music, social conversations. But here's the thing that's so striking, isn't it? You rarely, maybe never, hear her speak in traditional interviews anymore. So today, our mission in this deep dive is really to unpack that question. Why? Why has Beyonce largely stopped giving interviews? We're going to look at this from, well, all sorts of angles, from those early days navigating some truly nonsensical questions, all the way to how she meticulously cultivates her artistic story now and, maintains this powerful control over her image. We're drawing on a really lively Reddit thread, fans remembering some memorable, often kind of bizarre interview moments, and also insights from a YouTube video transcript that really digs into the strategic thinking behind it all. Okay, so let's unpack this first part. Many fans, they remember a time when Beyonce did do interviews, and like you said, our sources suggest these interactions were often, well, less than ideal, maybe. What did those early media experiences look like?
Yeah, it's fascinating when you look back. It seems like so often the interactions were just perplexing or sometimes outright inappropriate, honestly.
Yeah.
It created an environment that, well, it clearly wasn't serving her or her art.
Hmm.
She faced just a barrage of truly bizarre questions right from the start, even with Destiny's Child. Remember that British interviewer asking about the best blag or best con?
Glag, what does that even...
Exactly. Fans on Reddit were totally confused. They called it cheap tabloid speak. Apparently it meant, like, the best freebie or something she got away with because she was famous.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
That's awkward to navigate on the spot.
For sure.
Oh.
You can just imagine the confusion. Then there was another one where Destiny's Child got asked about the foot and mouth epidemic.
Wait, the livestock disease?
Yes. Asking about four-legged animals, and 60% of the livestock decimated. I mean, it's a question for a politician, right? Not pop stars.
Definitely not.
And Beyonce's reaction was just, total confusion. She apparently said something like, I know we released a single, or we don't know anything about that. It was noted by lots of fans.
Yikes. Any others like that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There was the infamous best black gas question, which is just what...
Best black?
Yeah. And the sports one, something about Tottenham beating Arsenal, which apparently made Beyonce ask, are you cursing?
Okay, so a pattern of just weirdness. Were these happening in specific, maybe uncomfortable settings, too?
Absolutely. That seems to be a big part of it. A lot of fans pointed to the interviews on the Tyra Banks show.
Oh, I can imagine those might have been unique.
Yeah. Tyra herself was described on Reddit as, quote, nutty as F and having a huge ego.
Yeah.
She apparently had this really unhinged habit of asking Beyonce rhyming questions based on her name.
Rhyming questions, like what?
Like Sanse, Crayanse,
Yeah.
Beyonce, even Illumiance.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. And fans remembered Beyonce looking visibly confused, maybe giving a sarcastic, dry-ass seance response. One fan even remembered Tyra bringing out a life-size Jay-Z cutout and acting inappropriately with it.
Okay, that's definitely beyond bizarre. That's like performance art gone wrong.
Right. It's hard to imagine trying to stay professional. And there were others mentioned, too. Ross Matthews, who allegedly asked her how to be ghetto.
Seriously?
Apparently. And then there was mention of Kathy Lee and Hoda Kotb, described as drunk TV hosts who would sometimes talk in unison. Just making things generally strange and uncomfortable.
So just a minefield of awkwardness.
Pretty much. And throughout this whole period, fans consistently recalled Beyonce looking confused or annoyed, sometimes uncomfortable. Giving really direct answers like, I answered this question already, or that we don't know anything about that. So this era, it really shows her trying to, play it cool, play it off, but clearly not putting up with nonsense.
Yeah, it sounds incredibly frustrating. It really highlights how many of those interactions were probably more about the interviewer's spectacle than, actually talking about her music or her work. So, okay, if those early times were so frustrating, how did she move from just kind of reacting to all this weirdness to actually taking charge, like actively shaping her own story?
Well, that's the key pivot, isn't it? If you connect these early experiences to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
it seems really likely they cemented her desire for intense control. It reflects that philosophy she's known for. Power's not given to you, you have to take it.
Right, taking control back.
Exactly. And a huge part of that was becoming incredibly protective of her privacy. Remember her 2014 documentary, Life is But a Dream?
Vaguely. Yeah.
In it, she was really explicit about her frustration with all the rumors, the speculation about her personal life. She stressed, her desires to share her work, not her private life.
Makes sense.
And that really led to this strategy of emerging publicly only on her own terms,
Mm-hmm.
like that massive 2018 September issue of Vogue she controlled.
That shift from just avoiding the bad stuff to actively building her own platform, it feels like a major power move, you know? What does that tell us about how artists maybe relate to the media now?
I think it signals a pretty profound shift, or at least the possibility of one for artists at her level. The sources really emphasize her meticulous management of her public image. That whole flawless persona isn't accidental.
Right.
And remember that 2013 GQ cover story? It describes something incredible, an official Beyoncé archive
An archive, like, of her music.
of everything. It described a temperature-controlled digital storage facility holding virtually every existing photo of her, every interview she's ever done, videos of every single show, even diary entries.
Wow. That's next level control over your own history.
Unprecedented, really. And then remember, after the 2013 Super Bowl halftime show, her team reportedly asked BuzzFeed to take down some photos they deemed unflattering.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. The photos stayed up, didn't they?
They did, yeah. BuzzFeed didn't pull them. But the attempt itself, it really underscores how much effort went into managing that image, that control.
Okay, so if traditional interviews are basically off the table, how does an artist like Beyoncé, someone with so much to say, actually communicate with us, with her audience?
Yeah, that's the crucial question, right? And for Beyoncé, the answer seems to be overwhelmingly Greer. Her art, her music, her visual albums, they became the primary way she tells her story, her narrative. It lets her tackle really complex things, personal, social, but completely on her own terms.
So like Lemonade.
Exactly. Lemonade is the prime example. She addressed all that alleged turmoil in her marriage, the infidelity rumors.
Yeah.
Think of the song, sorry, an infamous line, Becky with the good hair.
Unforgettable line.
Totally. But she did it there, in the album, in the visuals, not in some tearful public interview.
This approach, using art as communication, it feels incredibly powerful. But does it ultimately create maybe a more authentic connection? Or is it just a different kind of carefully managed distance?
That's a great question. I think it creates a different kind of authenticity. It's curated, absolutely, but it's curated through her artistic expression, which fans connect with deeply. Similarly, think about the joint album with Jay-Z, Everything Is Love.
Right, the Carter's album.
Yeah. They addressed his alleged cheating, again, those love child rumors. But the whole point of the album, musically, was to convey that message. Everything is indeed love for their family now, again, through the art.
And beyond the personal stuff, what about like bigger social or political issues? How does she handle those without interviews?
Well, the sources suggest she approaches those topics carefully, possibly because when she is engaged more directly in the past, it often led to backlash.
Ah, okay.
There are examples, though, of her engagement, her presence at a Trayvon Martin rally, those rumored donations to bail out Ferguson protesters. Remember bringing the mothers of Trayvon Martin, Mike Brown, Eric Garner, and Oscar Grant onto the MTV VMA's red carpet in 2016.
Yes, that was a very powerful moment.
Extremely. And her paying tribute to Black Lives Matter and the Black Panther movement during the 2016 Super Bowl halftime show.
Also very memorable and controversial for some, right?
Exactly. Those actions, powerful as they were, led to accusations, of her being racist or inciting bad behavior toward police. So you can see why direct commentary might be something she chooses to manage very carefully.
That makes a lot of sense, yeah. Given the kind of intense scrutiny any public figure gets touching on those things, it seems like a deliberate way to handle both personal and political narratives. What about sharing the spotlight? Does that play a role?
It does, and it seems quite strategic. She sometimes opted to share the limelight, often with her family, but in ways that still reveal very little about herself directly.
How so?
Well, for instance, there was a piece in Interview magazine back in January 2017 where she interviewed her sister, Solange. So the focus was on Solange, not her.
Ah,
Right. And that same month, she did a brief Q&A, but it was via email, for a New York Times profile about her mother, Tina Knowles Lawson. And it was focused on her mom's art collection.
so still present, but deflecting the direct spotlight onto others she wants to uplift.
Exactly. And this all ties back into that unprecedented control in media we talked about. That 2018 Vogue September issue takeover is maybe the ultimate example.
Yeah, tell us more about that.
She apparently exercised an unprecedented amount of control. She provided the editorial content, the captions, everything. And crucially, she chose the photographer. Tyler Mitchell, a 23-year-old black photographer.
That was huge news at the time.
It was massive. She revealed in the accompanying text that she'd been told earlier in her career that black people did not sell on magazine covers. So she proudly pointed out this was the very first Vogue cover shot by an African-American photographer in its history. And, proving that old myth completely wrong.
Wow, that's not just controlling her image, that's using her power to literally change the industry. That's quite a statement.
A huge statement.
So, putting it all together, what does this deliberate withdrawal from the traditional interview cycle mean for her legacy, for her unique spot in the entertainment world? She's built up such an aura, such a mystique.
Yeah, mystique is exactly the right word. This intentional absence, this silence in the usual places, it has absolutely allowed her to cultivate this unparalleled level of mystique. It solidifies her status as this icon who is somehow both hyper-visible everywhere and yet simultaneously inaccessible. She's widely seen as, perhaps the greatest performer of her generation. And Yale professor Daphne A. Brooks specifically noted this unique stardom she's achieved, defined by that exact paradox. Hypervisibility and inaccessibility simultaneously.
That's such a fascinating tightrope to walk, isn't it? The more she steps back from talking about the work, the more potent the work itself becomes, maybe, and the more intrigue grows around her.
I think that's exactly right. Professor Brooks suggests this absence actually encourages us, the audience, to face the art first rather than the artist who makes it.
Focus on the work.
Focus on the work. And a fan on that Reddit thread we mentioned echoed this perfectly. They said Beyoncé is an artist who uses mainly music to convey her art and message, and that she simply lets her art do the talking.
Yeah.
In her own words, really, from way back at a 2013 Vogue interview, they kind of capture this whole philosophy. She said, I don't feel like I have to please anyone. I can do what I want. I can say what I want. I can retire if I want. That's why I've worked hard.
That sense of freedom earned.
Completely. And she added basically, I will make my best art and just put it out. Simple as that almost.
So wrapping this up then, we've really seen how Beyoncé's move away from traditional interviews, it seems to stem from a whole mix of things, right? There's really frustrating early experiences, with just nonsensical questions. Her very strategic desire for tight control over her image, her privacy, her choice to speak, often profoundly, through her groundbreaking art instead, and also navigating the complexities and the inevitable backlash when touching on big socio-political issues. And all these threads seem to weave together to create this iconic mystique, the space where her art truly takes center stage.
Perfectly put.
So here's maybe a final thought for you to ponder. Considering Beyoncé's really unique path, her approach to fame, to communication, what does her career teach us? What does it say about maybe the changing relationship between celebrities and the public, especially now in this age of just constant information, constant access? And looking forward, how might other artists try to redefine how they engage with us, with their audience, maybe prioritizing their art and their privacy in similar ways? Something to think about.